Hello, welcome everyone to our session today, collaborative calling in Microsoft Teams, how this feature can enhance our utilization, how we can use this feature. It's native to Microsoft Teams. No additional capabilities are required, no additional licenses. We do not need to pay anything additional for this feature as well. And this can work as our mini or a small contact center kind of architecture as well. Something about, let's look into the agenda, what we would be talking about, how collaborative calling is useful, beneficial for the organizations that do not require a full-fledged contact center kind of a capabilities, because there are additional costs associated with the contact center side of the business. So we'll look at how these features are available, and then what all the configurations are in terms of how we would be configuring this from the Office 365 or the Teams admin portal as well. We'll also look at how the end user experience or the agent experience would be, and how we would be managing it from the management perspective as well. First of all, thanks to all the organizers, moderators, and speaker for the Teams Nation. And we are glad we have me on this call as well, Chris, Versa, everyone who have been spending a lot of hours in terms of organizing these sessions as well. Something about me, 9 years of experience working with Microsoft Unified Communications, supporting from OCS to Skype for Business Online, and now Microsoft Teams as well. I have been working with different organizations, supporting them in their Microsoft Teams deployment. And more specifically, I've been specializing in the state and local government in United States and Canada. So we have been assisting different with different local and state governments in United States in their journey towards Microsoft Teams from their existing platform, be it Cisco, be it the cloud connected editions. We have been helping them to move towards Teams with Teams direct routing. Currently, I'm working with Softel Communication Inc. based out of Toronto as a Microsoft Unified Communication Architect. And I have my own blog space where you can look up for all the different news about what's happening in unified communications and collaboration world as well. You can always follow me on LinkedIn. And lastly, we also have our Softel, where I work currently. That's the website where you can find us and reach out to us in case you need any kind of a professional help or assistance as well. Now, looking into collaborative calling in Teams, what is collaborative calling in Teams? So collaborative calling in Teams is like enabling your Teams channel or enabling your individual channels, users who are part of those channels with voice capabilities. All the users then becomes your agent, and then they are able to receive calls from the call queues as well. It's integrated with Auto Attendant and call queue. We'll definitely talk about how, and we'll look into the demo as well when we are looking into the demo, how this is integrated with Auto Attendant, because generally when we configure call queues, we feel like call queue is separate, whereas Auto Attendant is separate. But how we can combine those two together and how the features would be available as well. Now, this feature, collaborative calling, can be integrated with Microsoft Calling Plans, Operator Connect, or even direct routing. So Tom, earlier in the day, right before this call, Jason and Steve, they spoke about all the different ways how we can have the telephony coming into Microsoft Teams, be it calling plans, direct routing, or operator connects. Yes, Teams collaborative calling is supported by all the different platforms, and with the new and the latest announcement of Operator Connect Mobile, it would be supported with those mobile platforms as well. Some of the benefits, it can support your dynamic caller IDs while the users or the agents are making the outbound call. The caller ID can be manipulated as well. That options are available as well. And traditional features of your Auto Attendant and call queues, like the manager viewing which agents are available in the queue, monitoring the call queues, all those features are available as well out of box from the Teams application. Only limitations that while I was preparing up, while I was setting this configuration up was this is currently not supported on your Teams mobile app as well as on your Teams web client. Let's get into the demo right now. So I already have a call queue. I already have an auto attendant and a call queue that's configured here, and we'll look into the configurations here. So first, let's look into the call queue and how I have nested a call queue within an auto attendant, how things are working. So what happens is my calls comes into my auto attendant. My DID is assigned to an auto attendant. What happens is I am able to utilize all the feature sets that's available with the auto attendant, and then my call is getting transferred into the call queue. So I am able to utilize both the capabilities instantly as well. I have my phone number, that's the phone number assigned onto my call queue. I have the operator as well, and I have the time zone selected based on my requirements. Time zone is really critical in the auto attendant capability because that defines our business hours and non-business hours. So all those capabilities of business hours, non-business hours, holidays, holiday schedules, menu options that are not available in the call queue, we can leverage our auto attendant and have those configurations from the auto attendant and leverage it into the call queue as well. Uh, One of the limitations that we all are aware from the call queue perspective is that we cannot have a customized text-to-speech greetings into the call queue as well. So here, using the auto attendant, we can have those features coming in as well. So custom greetings. Then I have my next set of nomination or my next set of options that I have defined up here as well, wherein like if someone presses 0, it goes to the operator that has been defined. And then if someone presses 1, it routes to my call queue. The call queue, which is a part which we'll get into what are the configurations of call queue. And then the second option is the call queue for IT team. And then the third option is you have the call queue for your HR team as well. Dial by name capability is available as well. So in case someone dials into the auto attendant and wants to reach to a person within the organization as well, that features are available out of box. Now, next is where our business hours and non-business hours are configured. Here we come in, we look into the business hours. Whatever hours I define here, like 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because I have set my time zone as Eastern. Basis on that, it would be like any calls coming in between 8:30 to 5:30 would be during the business hours call flow, and any calls coming after this time zone would be considered as after business hours call zone. So after business hours, I have all different options, like I can redirect to a person within the organization, to an external phone numbers, or I can, so like now I have set up this for my New York office. And if I want to route all my calls during the after business hours to my Washington office, I can do that. I can select up a voice app and it could route all the calls to my second queue, which would be set for my Washington office. But here in my configuration, I have set it for voicemail. So I have a shared Office 365 group created where my voicemails would be delivered. Now, this group can again be your same Teams group or Teams channel that's created so that you can have the calls, your voicemails delivered into the channel as well. I also have multiple different options similar to the other options that I had for during the business day. I can configure those accordingly as well. So let's click on disconnect and let's move on to next. We'll not save the configurations. The next option is in terms of my holiday schedule. I can have a multiple holiday schedules configured as well. It can be there. One limitation of the holiday schedules, that is you cannot have the holidays more than 12 days of holidays added up into one holiday schedule. So we need to change and we need to add it in a multiple holiday schedule. So during the holidays, again, I have the same set of options. It can be redirected, or I can let my users leave a voicemail to my voicemail account. So that options are available as well. I have kept it as voicemails, so we'll keep it as voicemail currently. And then let's click on cancel. And Let's move on to the next one. Dial scope. We talked about dial by name, dial by extension capabilities. So if I want to exclude my executives from dial by name or dial by extension capabilities, I can always exclude certain set of users. I can create an Office 365 group, add those users into the group, and they would be excluded from the overall auto attendant capability as well. And then lastly, I have my auto attendant that has a resource account. So resource account is where your configurations are saved as well as your DIDs are assigned to the resource account. Now, the resource account requires a license. It's a $0 cost license, which we also call as phone system virtual user license. That's required to be assigned to the resource account so that we can assign the DID to the respective resource accounts. This was in terms of my auto attendant configurations. I'll click on cancel. We'll go into, let's jump into the call queue configurations. Although I have set my call queue to have an individual DID as well, but all the calls coming in from the auto attendant would also get routed to my call queue. But in case someone wants to reach to my call queue directly as well, it has its own individual DIDs. And to add to it, whenever my agents are making the outbound calls, I am displaying the caller ID of my auto attendant that whenever they make an outbound call to any of the user accounts or any of the external persons or to the customers, the call queue or their CLI or their caller ID should be manipulated to my auto attendant's caller ID. So that's how the caller ID manipulation or the dynamic caller ID configurations are available as well. The next set of options in the call queue is like having the view or like having the audio files upgraded or a customized music for your custom greetings coming in. You can also have a certain kind of an announcement wherein we are announcing certain informations during the when the users are on hold. So all those options are available from the call queue perspective. So this is where I come here, I go ahead and add my channels. I completely remove it. Here I come in, I select up my channel or my a specific team that I need to add up as a part of my call queue. So I can come here, I can select the team as well. And then once I select up the team, yes, this is the team that I want to configure it. With the call queue, I also get an option to select which specific channel of that team needs to be enabled as a voice channel. So I have the option of general. I have created a separate support channel as well. So I can come here, I can select those support channel as well. Moving on to the next set of options in terms of routing the calls, you have attendant routing, serial routing, all those are round robin kind of an options available as well in terms of routing the calls. Presence-based routing is one of the critical feature that we always recommend our customers to be having. The feature enabled is because presence-based routing, if a user is presenting or the user is already on call, the calls coming into the call queue or the calls coming into the auto attendant should not hit the user accounts. That's the reason why we ensure presence-based routings are enabled as well. Moving on to the last option, the next two set of options, agents have the options to opt out, opt in. We'll definitely look into these options in terms of how the agents can opt out and opt in when we look into the agents view as well. But here as an admin, I can come here, I can control the configurations, I can control that agent should not opt out of the call queue anytime. So all those options are available as well. The maximum number of seconds the call would ring for any agent, and then the call would start ringing for the second agent, looking for the second agent, whoever is available into the queue. Now, in terms of call overflow, if maximum number of 50 calls are waiting into the queue, what should happen to the next call? Whether the call should go to, whether it should be escalated, it should be routed to a different voicemail, all those options are possible. So if maximum number of 50 calls are waiting into the queue, or when we want to redirect it to a different call queue, all those options are available. This is in terms of the maximum call waiting. So the call that came in first would be escalated automatically as per the preference that we have configured here. Now we have the custom greeting message options wherein we can call it out that there are due to high call volumes. We can ask the users or the customers who have called into the call queue to leave a voicemail, and then our agents, whenever they are available, they can call back into the respective user accordingly as well. Moving on to the next set of options is call timeout. I have set it for 1 minute, but in productions, we assume we keep it to 5 minutes. Like if a call is waiting for more than 5 minutes into the queue, the call should be escalated as well. Either it should be escalated or the caller should get an option to leave a voicemail, or they can also request for a callback as well. So all those options can be added up here into the call queues as well. Now let's look at we looked at call queues, we looked at auto attendance, both the options as well. And then let's look in from the end user and from the manager perspective how the calls happens. So I am logged in as an end user for my IT queue. So here is an account where I have logged in. I have the agent who is available as well. So here we were talking about the option agent can opt out. I can just select this option. The agent can opt out. As soon as agent opts out of the queue, manager on their end. So here is the view how manager has HR queue, call queue, and also for the IT support call queue. So let's get into the IT support call queue because the agent opted out. Here you get a separate option of calls, a separate add-on options comes in when we have this collaborative callings enabled as well. So here we can see this agent is available, but the agent is not into the queue. So those options of granular level of options for manager to view which agents are into the queue, which agents are not into the queue. Even though these agents are offline, they are part of the queue. And as soon as I go back into my user view and select this option, it would change back for the manager that yes, this agent is into the queue now. Similar for all the different queues that a manager is managing, all those options are available. So here the manager can look at which agents are available into the queue as well. Let's come back and let's look at the option again. So here the agent is back into the queue with the options as well. Now let's from the agent's view, let's come back into the agent's view and let's look at so here for the agent, the dial pad option is available on the extreme right. They can make the calls. I'll just select a number. Now, like we were talking, the agent can make a call on behalf of the auto attendant because I have set the outbound caller ID manipulation as well, or this agent is enterprise voice enabled, so the agent can make a call on behalf of them, and their caller ID would be displayed whenever they are making a call to the respective number. So all those options are available as well. In terms of your call history is available immediately as soon as the calls are made, whether it's inbound or outbound call. All the call histories would be saved as well. In addition to that, any voicemail that are left for this call queue or for this collaborative channel, all those voicemail would also be saved into the same space so that you don't have to navigate anywhere else. All the recordings of those voicemails would be saved into the same Teams channel itself. So this way, the agents have one place. They can also, if they want, if even after reading the voicemail, if they want to make it unread, they can do all those configurations as well from the end user perspective. Now, let me make a call onto this call queue, and then let's have a look how the call is coming in. Okay, so here is the view that we have in terms of the call is coming in for the call queue. And as soon as the agent answers it, in case if the agent responds or declines the call, it would again ring back to the agent specifically, because that's the only agent that's available into the queue. So that's the reason why the call would keep ringing to that agent only. That's something there. Your call history would immediately be available into your call history options as well. All those features are available now. 1 week ago itself, Microsoft has announced the reporting capability of auto attendant and call queue, so we can always utilize the auto attendant and call queue reporting for this feature functionality, and they should be able to utilize the live reporting, like how many calls are coming into the queue, how many calls have been abandoned, which specific call was abandoned, what was the DID, so the agents can make a call back into the call or to the respective customer or the user. All those features are available into the latest call reporting capability, which is a part of Power BI template. So that's one of the recommendations that we always have from that perspective as well. In terms of licensing, in my current architecture or in my current Office 365 demo setup, I have the Microsoft calling plans. So all my users who are a part of the call queues and who all are part of this uh, whole collaborative experience, they are enabled with the calling plans as well. So it's a combination of Microsoft phone system with the Microsoft domestic calling services. So I have those licenses enabled for the users. I have E5, and then I have Teams phone with Microsoft calling plan. So it gives me 3,000 minutes of domestic callings into the overall services. Now, one thing that I also wanted to highlight, whenever a call comes in into the queue for collaborative calling, the manager or whoever is in the queue, whoever is the when you look at managed teams, and when you get into whoever is the member of this team, only those members would be your call queue agents. The owner of the queue, whoever is the owner of this queue, will never receive the call. That's one thing that I also wanted to highlight, because the owner of the queue never receives the call, but only the members of the queue will receive the call. Irrespective if you have 10 owners or if you have multiple owners as well, only the members who are enterprise voice enabled would be able to receive the call altogether. So that's one of the things that I also wanted to highlight. And we did talk about the licensing from the licensing perspective. Yes, we have the licenses, or I have added up the licenses from Microsoft Calling Plan as well. I'll take a pause. Let's look into if we have any kind of a questions.
We have a couple of questions in the chat, so I can read them. So the shared call queue call history in Teams is not displaying calls that was picked by another agents. Only the personal calls inbound, outbound are visible. This is causing confusion for the agents of the call queue. Is there any plans to bring this feature to Teams?
So yes, they are. So there are plans, not only this in terms of the calls that are answered by other agents, all those would also be added up into the history. That's one of the requests that we already have, and Microsoft product team is working on those reporting or adding up those features as well. So yes, that's into the roadmap as well.
Okay, thank you. We have another question. Are there any options for auto switching agents in queue in follow the sun support scenario?
Currently, there are no options to auto follow the sun support option. The only way we can do it is like after business hours and business hours. That's the only way that you can do it. Like during the business hours, the calls would be routed into one of your locations, and during after business hours call can automatically be routed towards your next set of agents. I'll definitely I'll definitely showcase you how we would be able to do that. Yes, in terms of the owners, yes, the owners of the group will never be able to receive the calls. So that's one thing that has been added up recently as well. Yes, non-teams AO users, non-teams users can also be a part of the call queue as well.
And I think we are going back to the first question about timeline, about the plans of this feature to teams.
I definitely don't have a definite timeline on that, but I can definitely check back on with the Microsoft product team on that perspective by when they are planning to launch it up. Now,
Okay, and just one more question. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
What happens if an agent forwards a call and this forwarding will not be answered? So that's the last question.
So if the agent forwards the call and if what happens, the call would be with the agent, and if that agent doesn't answers the call onto their cell phone or onto their next wherever the call forwarding is happening, it would go to the voicemail at that or that forwarded location. So that's the option that comes in there. Now, to answer to your question of follow the sun, here you have the option. Here you can configure your business. So like business hours would be configured here accordingly. And then during the business hours, I have the same set of options that I can play menu options. And then in this, I can have again different set of options wherein I can set up different call queues. I can set up different voice app, and then whichever is your secondary or rather backup options in terms of answering your calls, they can be added into it so that during business hours, the calls are routed to one location. It could be my New York location, and then after business hours, it could be in the any of the Asia Pacific regions like Singapore or Australia as well. So agents who are part of the same auto attendant can answer the call based out of Singapore as well. Karen, in terms of the real-time reportings, yes, the real-time reportings is getting enhanced as well. Microsoft has recently, 1 week ago itself, they have enhanced up the reporting for the call queues and auto attendant, how much calls have been missed, what was the duration, all those things are being getting added as well. No, the reason why you cannot send the call back into the call queue, the only option is if the agent sets the option on like after the call is ended. I can showcase that as well. Give me 1 minute. Okay. So here in the call forwarding options, here we can come back into the call forwarding options, and then in the call forwarding option, there is an option which we call as after 20 seconds, if the call is unanswered, you can set it to your respective call queue number so that it's an on-net transfer of your calls as well. So here you can, for forwarding, after the forwarding, we can always set the options. After specific seconds, the call can be redirected back into your call queue. So here, instead of voicemail, you can set up to a specific number that's a part of your call queue as well. So that options are available as well. Any other questions? Good. I would be available in the lounge.
Sorry, there is one question. Is owner of the Teams auto attendant? Can we Server reports, not admin.
Now, in terms of granular level of reporting capabilities, the only thing that you would require, you not require the team's admin access. You'll only require to have the reporter admin access. If that reporter admin access is available as well, then definitely those things are options that are available. If not, there are third-party tools that is available that can provide you that without any admin access as well. You can have the cloud auto attendant and call queue reporting as well.
Thank you very much, Sadesh. Thank you for the great presentation.
Thank you, everyone. I would be available in the lounge in case if you have any questions, we can definitely connect there as well.
Thank you everyone for your attention. I have posted into the chat section a link for you if you would like to give us feedback, because it really means a lot to us and to our speakers. So thank you once again and enjoy the rest of the conference today.